So now we'll talk very briefly about moving from expanded to compact. And this is a really important concept for KIZUNA dance repertory, but I think for floorwork in general. And it's this idea that when you expand, you want to be reaching through all of your distal points, or any of the distal points that are outstretched, and sending energy to the far outside of the room. And then when you compact, you want to think about closing in everything in toward your center as tight as possible. And what this is going to do for us is actually create a way of building power on a lower level, but also just in building your own material and thinking about creating your own dances, it'll create a really nice choreographic and aesthetic difference as people are watching in from the audience. When they can see a large movement that comes into a smaller movement and then expands to a larger one again. It's really nice. It also does help with a sense of breath and flow as you're moving through, so you can really have a sense of right, as you're moving through different kinds of movement. So when we're in this X shape, we want to think about reaching in every distal point, right? So our toes are reaching toward the corners, our feet are reaching toward the corner, and we're really spreading our energy out into the floor with the lower back included. And then when we compact into our left side fetal, we want to think about everything closing in toward that center, and we want to come into as tight of a ball as possible on that left hand side. If we think about going from expanded to compact to expanded again, we might have a movement that brings us from this X into our right side fetal, and then has this leg open on top, so we find an opening to a straddle going to open. That helps us build power on the lower level, which we can then use to our advantage. So for example, if I were coming, opening into this X, and I wanted to get off the floor, I could come to this right side fetal, open to this left side, and then I have a lot of power from that opening that I can use to come away from the floor. This also helps us in getting from a higher level down into the floor as well, so we can think about having a moment of expansion and then coming to that moment of being compact as we go into the floor. So another thing to think about is when you're expanding, you want to be spreading surface area across the floor, right? To send that energy out and down to the floor. And then when you're compact, it gives you a lot of options because the smaller you are, the easier it is for you to move around, to slide, to flip, to rotate, to things like that. So one example might be one of my favorite moves, which I call the ball tuck. So we can envision ourselves coming from an open space, closing to a compact space, in that same compact shape I was talking to you about. So if we did that with a little bit more motion, we'd have a cut across, and then tightening in. So the next time you're working through your own practice, try to keep that in mind as well, is when I'm reaching out, am I really sending energy out through every single corner of my body? And then when I compact, am I activating my core so I can soften and fold back into that center? And then that opening becomes so much nicer just for your body and your breath, but also for the audience who's watching it from the outside as well.